Welcome to Under the Microscope, the flagship podcast of the Science Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Pranoti Kshirsagar, and I have a special announcement which I want to share with you all, my podcast listeners. If you have been following Under the Microscope podcast since the very beginning, which was 6 years ago, you know that Under the Microscope started in parallel to a rotation curation account on Twitter called Real Scientists Nano. Real Scientist Nano is a rotation curation account, and a rotation curation account on Twitter, or now X, basically means that the curation of this account is rotated, which means that there is a new person taking over this account and posting from this account on a regular frequency. For Real Scientist Nano, the idea was to have a new guest every week, which is a frequency we managed to keep for quite some time. So far, over 120 scientists from around the world have featured on Under the Microscope podcast and also curated this rotation curation account on Twitter. Each guest of Under the Microscope gets the keys to the Real Scientist Nano Twitter or X account for one entire week. That is the concept of Real Scientist Nano. Why the Real Scientists? Well, this rotation curation concept was popularized on Twitter by an account called Real Scientists. After the Real Scientists' success, there was another account with a similar concept, just in a different language. So the Real Scientist account, the parent account, was in English, and the Real Scientist German, or RealSci_DE, this account is or was for tweets in German. It was for a German audience. It was also super successful. And soon after that, I had the idea of starting something for materials and nanoscience. So I reached out to the team of Real Scientists and Real Scientists Germany accounts on Twitter, and together with them, we got Real Scientist Nano off the ground. That is the history of Real Scientist Nano, Twitter account or X account, whatever you want to call it. The Real Scientist Nano account is now moving from Twitter/X to BlueSky. I will put the link to BlueSky account in the show notes or in the episode description. I would highly encourage you to check it out. And in addition to moving from Twitter to BlueSky, Real Scientist Nano will now be called Under the Microscope. So the podcast and the rotation curation account now have the same name, Under the Microscope. So if you follow the link in the description, it will take you to an account on BlueSky, which is called Under the Microscope. The Under the Microscope is the handle of that account. Everything else stays the same. The team behind the podcast and the Real Scientist Nano, or now Under the Microscope, is exactly the same. Concept is the same. Nothing has changed. The only thing that changes is, instead of getting these amazing curators or these amazing guests for one entire week on Twitter, now you will have access to their posts, their content on BlueSky. So make sure you're following that link in the episode description, and I look forward to your support. You all have been incredible over the last 6 years, and I could not be more thankful to each and every single one of you. And I would be truly, truly grateful if you continue to show your support to Under the Microscope on BlueSky as well, where we will continue the rotation curation account concept. Thank you very much. The full episode will be released soon, where you will meet Pascal Selenard, who is a Wonder Woman in my eyes. And yeah, thank you very much for your continued support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for listening to Under the Microscope. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you did enjoy the episode, please make sure that you tell one friend about Under the Microscope today. Right now. Send the link to your friend right now. And if you feel up for it, leave a review either on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And also make sure you're following Under the Microscope. I know all the podcasts ask you to do the same thing, but hey, for Under the Microscope, It makes a huge difference because Under the Microscope is a very niche podcast. So every follow is much, much, much appreciated. This helps us in bringing more and more amazing guests on Under the Microscope so that together with you, we discover the fascinating world of materials and nanoscience. So make sure you're following Under the Microscope. Make sure you leave a review. And hey, also tell me in the comments where exactly are you listening to Under the Microscope podcast right now. If you're on Spotify, you can just write it in the comment section. And if you're not listening on Spotify and some other platform, well, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. My messages are open, and just write me a message telling me where exactly you're listening to the podcast. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.